Hi everyone, my name is Arianna Lee. I currently work as an assistant campaign manager at the Ad Council. Really excited to be implementing social impact work with my career. I was a MAID intern as part of the 2019 class. I interned at IW Group for the MAID program and really excited to stay involved and continue to be participating as part of the program. Well, hi Kenny, it's so nice to meet you. You've obviously had such a long an incredible and established career, which is why we are honoring you tonight.
And I'm Kenny Gold, and I'm the managing director and head of social, influencer, and content at Deloitte Digital.
Awesome. Well, wanted to start out by having you share how you first got yourself into the marketing and advertising industry and why that was an industry that was really exciting for you.
It was completely by accident. I wish it were better planned. I started off in PR actually, and was living in Washington, D.C. And when I decided to move to New York, I realized that I couldn't necessarily do the type of work I was doing in DC in New York. So I pivoted. I'd always been really interested in social media and having grown up, quote unquote, in the early days of Facebook, being able to see the power to create content and community and connect brands and people with one another was really exciting. I've always been extremely passionate about culture. I'd like to tell students when we talk during these AEF sessions that it was really SNL in the early 90s that inspired me to want to create fun and interesting and exciting things that would inspire people to laugh or engage or interact with one another. Being able to pair my love of culture, my knowledge of strategic communications, and a heavy interest in understanding of the power of social media was able to connect those dots to create a moment and a space to build a career in creative advertising. So really, it was serendipitous and almost by accident.
Yeah, that's so exciting to hear. I think especially with new apps like TikTok, like Instagram, I feel like that space is becoming even more dynamic and even more exciting to work in. So like I mentioned, the space is obviously growing and changing immensely with new apps emerging. What do you think are key factors to being successful as a marketer within the social media and influencer space?
It's a great question, and the principles remain the same. We want to make sure we understand our audience inside and out. We want to know how they behave on the channels, and at their core, what are the elements of just the human experience of being in social media? When marketers understand that, they're able to tap in and create content that meets the consumers where they are. The other component of this is creating content that's tied to culture. Social media and culture are intertwined with one another. So the ability to leverage culture to create content that will break through is also really important.
But as someone like me, who is just starting out in her career, would love to hear the best career advice you've ever received and how you feel like it's helped you reach where you are today.
There's a few pieces. One of my favorite managers and someone who I actually still work with today told me 2 ears and 1 mouth, and that's for a reason. I've always been a big talker, and really learning how to critically listen and be able to hear what my colleagues are saying and hear what my clients are saying, and to really triage and think through what's being said in a way that we can drive impact is really important. I'd also say you never get too senior to roll up your sleeves. So I love getting my hands dirty in the work. And I think as long as you are constantly involved in how we approach problems for the brands that we're working with or the problems that we're facing, it's really, really important. So always be willing to roll up your sleeves.
That's awesome. That's incredible advice. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. Really appreciate everything that you're doing and really, really excited to be able to honor you tonight.
We look forward to seeing what you bring to the industry, Ariana. You're going to do great things. Thanks for this.
Thank you so much. Hi, Debbie. It's so nice to meet you.
You too. Thank you for having me.
Of course. You've obviously had such an incredible and established career, which is why we're honoring you tonight. To kick us off, I'd love to go around, share names and where we work.
Sure. So I'm Debbie King. I am the Senior Vice President of Marketing Communications and Culture for Velocity, which is Viacom CBS's branded content studio. And I have been at Viacom CBS for about 3 years.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today, Debbie. Wanted to start out by having you share how you first got into the marketing and advertising industry and what it was about the industry that really excited you.
When I graduated from college, I got a job. My first job was as an inside sales rep at SHI, which was a computer hardware and software reseller. So not exactly any of what I do now, but it was a first job, which was totally fine. And then I decided to go back to grad school to get an MBA in sport management, because again, I knew I wanted to get into sports and I thought that that could be an avenue. And so I went back full time. So quit my job after 4 years and went back full time. And while I was there, I realized that it was relatively easy to add a second concentration. And so that's actually the point where I realized I was interested in marketing. And so, I had a little bit of sales, inside sales experience, and then I saw that I really liked marketing. And so I added that as a second concentration. And then between my first and second years of grad school, I got an internship at the NFL in the consumer products department. So my first entree into the sports world, and then kept my connections going, and then ended up taking a temporary job in brand marketing. And so I was able to fuse those two together, marketing and sports, and did that for almost 12 years.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. It's so interesting to hear, all of the different career points that you've had and different pivots. I feel like that's so dynamic and very exciting. I also read that you've been pivotal in the development of Viacom CBS's multicultural marketing capability and working with marketing partners to deliver on multicultural marketing goals. I've always been passionate about social impact work, and obviously my job at the Ad Council has given me this amazing opportunity to marry social impact work and my interest within the advertising industry. So I would love to hear more about your work in the multicultural marketing space and any advice for someone like me on how you have been able to implement social impact and DEI work within your career.
And we originally started doing it just around branded content. And then we spent a year on that because we wanted to really put the pieces in place to make it feel authentic. And so that was diversifying our teams, thought leadership. We made the decision pretty early that we weren't going to put multicultural marketing over here on this island. Everybody was going to have a basic knowledge and understanding, and then we would have experts who would handle any specific RFPs or campaigns that came in. We made sure that we had vetted third-party rosters to be able to have go-to resources for our creative to make sure that everybody along the path matched the target. And so we did all of that for a year. And then we were ready to launch, and somebody made a very great suggestion that we take this and broaden it across all of Viacom CBS. And so that we pulled together another working team there and then launched that to the market probably around April or so for our clients. And really the key, as everybody will say, is that authenticity. So making sure that we have the people, we have the expertise and everything that really makes these campaigns connect for our clients. I would just say my advice would be to find your niche, find the piece and where you feel like you can have some impact. And for me, I always say to people, I don't do this for myself because, I'll say anything to anybody. I'm fortunate like that from the personality, but also from, I've been around a while. But if people behind me can feel more comfortable, can feel more confident, can feel like their voices are heard, that's really the important part to me. And so, I want to have people like you who feel like they can speak up and that they're empowered, and to kind of give that confidence and nurture that within any environment, because we should always, if something's not going right, we should always feel like we can speak up no matter what our level, who we are, background, anything like that.
And my last question is, for someone like me who is just starting out in her career, would love to hear more from you about the best career advice you've ever received and how you feel like it has helped you reach where you are today.
Sure. So I would say for anybody starting, it's a little bit what I said earlier, which is my first job was in computer hardware and resale and software reselling. Your first job does not have to be the end all be all, right? Try different things out, especially in today's world where people don't spend a lot of time in one job. Try different things. And especially when you're starting, you're not likely to find the exact perfect fit in your first, second, third job, whatever it is. So take that time and that opportunity to try out different things, see what you really like, see what you don't like, which is also as valuable, and nothing has to be permanent.
That's awesome. That's really great advice to hear. Well, thank you so much, Debbie, for taking the time to speak with me today. It was so great hearing about your career and hearing all the wonderful advice and insight you have. Yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time.
Great. Thank you so much. It was great to chat.
So nice to meet you. Thank you so much, Helen, for taking the time to speak with us today. Obviously, you had such an incredible and established career, which is why we're honoring you tonight. So to kick us off, I'd love to go around, share our names, where we work, job titles, just so people get to know you a little bit.
Okay, Helen Lin. I'm the Chief Digital Officer for Publicis Group. I am based in New York.
So I wanted to start off our conversation by having you share how you first got into the marketing and advertising industry.
Actually, I fell into advertising after college, and I think with so many, your parents do threaten you, and that if you don't have a job after college, you're moving home. So I marched over to the Career Center, and advertising was amongst like the first, job categories. And I nailed my first interview at Saatchi & Saatchi in Los Angeles in the account group on Toyota. So I really fell into advertising. I have to say, 23 years later, I'm constantly thinking about my own journey. And then I moved into the marketing side as not client side, but truly marketing side with no agency, as the internet basically was emerging as a way for companies to communicate and transact with consumers. And during that period of my life, in my career, it was a period that was very heavily infrastructure oriented and putting measurement in place and understanding what can the internet do for businesses. And then later in my career, I moved to New York from LA and delved into the media space, where I really learned to hone in how to manage marketplaces. And I'd say that what's the most exciting part of my career is actually right now. And because I get the best of like all of those worlds. I'm putting all my skills together to what I say spark digital transformation. And I would just say that like this time for everyone, it's so unique that I have all of those experiences, but actually it's an imperative now that it all comes together, because consumers expect this like seamless experience to make sense wherever they are. So I feel really lucky to have had the opportunities I've had that I think poise me really well to help lead during this time.
So definitely would love to hear more specifically your thoughts on what brands and companies should be doing or implementing in their work to remain at the forefront of this ever-changing and growing digital ecosystem.
Ever-changing, that is for sure. Ironically, I'm actually someone who hates change. I love a good organized framework that's like super proven. It's so comforting for me. Like one of my favorite phrases is to roll out. To develop a framework that's that works so well that we just get to roll out. It's so satisfying. But that's not the world that we live in. The context and the environment is constantly changing, and especially the last 18 months.
But last question for you, as someone like me who is just starting out in her career, would love to hear about the best career advice you've ever received and how you feel like it has helped you get to where you are today.
Early in my career, I got this piece of advice, which is to be invaluable in educating your clients, and they will be loyal to you forever wherever you go. That has proven very true, and I don't think it only applies to business. If you're the type of person that wants to help others understand what's going on, you make yourself a go-to person, not a go-between, and that also builds trust. So I would say, be invaluable. The second piece of advice, though, and I only have two, so don't worry, but was huge as I became a leader. And that was you do you, as simple as it is. And our careers can feel like, especially in digital, that we are just constantly sprinting after one disruption, one innovation, you're just constantly sprinting. But we have to remember our career is a marathon, right? We're talking 30, 40, 50 years. And so I believe it's because my mentor gave me the permission that you do you. It was okay to be me and my natural organic self, and quirky and goofy, and bring that to presentations, including pitches. That's the only way that I could sustain all that we have to take on, is to just be myself. If I had to have another front while I was also tackling all of these other things, I don't think I can make the marathon. So that you do you has been something that I never forget. As I start questioning myself, I just always remind myself that I have the permission to just be myself, because I need to, be able to do this, for the rest of my career.
Yeah, that's really valuable advice. Thank you so much for sharing. It's definitely something that I will definitely implement in my life moving forward and within my career.